An Oregon woman and her parents accused of beating, poisoning, and even trying to murder the woman's 9-year-old stepson. Detectives and social workers spent nearly a year on the case after Sarah Session found a loophole in child custody laws, asking for a restraining order that kept Braxton Sessions' father away. Now Braxton's father, Chris Session, is sharing his story for the first time.
I was failed by the system.
Sarah Session appeared in court Tuesday asking a judge to reduce her bail from $1 million to just $50,000 in hopes of joining her parents on the outside as the family waits for a plea hearing next week. Sarah Session is charged with attempted murder, first and second degree assault, and 16 other crimes. Her mother, Paula Hardenberg, is charged with participating in the abuse, while her father, Gary Hardenberg, is charged with neglect, allegedly witnessing the abuse but doing nothing to stop it. Sarah's estranged husband, Chris, now lives in Arizona. He was hoping Sarah would stay in jail. His fear is still present, not just for Braxton, but for Sarah and Chris's other 2 children as well.
He was robbed, like all of my children were robbed of their childhood. They had to experience things that no child should ever have to go through.
Chris met Sarah in 2017 when he had full custody of his then 3-year-old son, Braxton. The child's mother wasn't in the picture, so when they married in 2018, Sarah made vows not just to Chris, but to Braxton too.
She actually said vows to Braxton, who was the one that was subjected to all the abuse, stating that she would never hurt him, would always care for him, always love him, all of these things, in front of God and 120 attendees at our wedding.
The couple had 2 children in the years that followed, but then marriage troubles began.
She spread a lot of rumors about me through false accusations of domestic violence, which never occurred. Was Did everything in her power to try to sway the system to be in her favor. And unfortunately, in the the state of Oregon, it's a mother state, so it goes mother's way most of the time. You can throw allegations, and then the court overlooks what dad has to say.
And although Braxton didn't belong to Sarah, she never formally adopted him. Chris was still prevented from seeing his son.
Went and called the sheriff's department and tried to have Braxton pulled from the home. I had my custody paperwork from California, where we had moved up from in 2020, stating that I was the sole custodial parent to Braxton. When I gave that to the sheriff's deputy, he told me that they are not in the business of pulling children from stable homes.
I reached out to the Deschutes County Sheriff, but haven't heard back. The Hardenbergs also did not respond to requests for comment. So Sarah, a teacher, kept Braxton while his father Chris was barred from contacting her or coming near the home. What he didn't know was in the following months, Sarah pulled Braxton out of school. Court documents indicate she told school officials he was recently diagnosed with autism and was at risk of harming himself or others. She told doctors he was nonverbal and had him prescribed 2 sedatives. Chris was not informed.
It's sickening, what was said about my child, that was never true in the first place. I mean, he's so outgoing, he's so passionate about life, about he loves the violin and he plays violin, and he's just such an incredible kid. And I truly don't understand where all of this came from and why it happened, why he had to have it happen.
Court documents reveal what happened next. Braxton was allegedly beaten repeatedly with a curtain rod, starved, dehydrated, and forced to eat his own vomit. A younger sibling told authorities his brother was forced to carry around a bucket wherever he went and had been throwing up for at least 6 weeks before his hospitalization. The family told investigators Braxton was vomiting to, quote, punish the family. But it all came to a head in early 2024 when Braxton was taken to the hospital unresponsive.
Notified by Child Protective Services, not even by Sarah, not even by the hospital, but Child Protective Services reached out to me, letting me know that my son was in critical condition and had to be resuscitated at the hospital and life-flighted to OHSU.
Braxton spent 2.5 months in the hospital, 2 weeks of that in the ICU. He had to relearn how to walk and talk. He was severely underweight. His sodium levels, his dad say, were the highest ever recorded in a living person.
He got an acquired brain injury from the highest sodium levels ever recorded. He's lucky to be alive. I mean, he went through a lot in that hospital fighting for his life.
But a year later, Braxton has made a miraculous recovery and is thriving.
This kid is resilient. He is brave. He is so strong. I mean, he's made pretty much a full recovery. I mean, he still has stuff that he's going through. He still has stuff that we're working on. But I mean, he's on the honor roll. He's ready to make the dean's list here. And I mean, he's the smartest kid in his class. He makes so many friends. He's just the sweetest kid, even though he's been through so much. Like you would never guess meeting him that he's been through what he's been through. You know, he's just the sweetest kid on the planet. And I'm still in awe of how you could do that to such a sweet child. He's always been such a sweet child.
The family is thriving too.
The kids are so happy. They're so healthy. I mean, they're just smiles all the time. They feel loved. They feel supported. They feel heard.
And now the family is waiting to see what comes next for Sarah and the Hardenbergs.
The one thing I would have to say to her is why? Why would you do this? And I'm praying for you.
Chris tells me he's had custody of his 3 children for nearly a year now and moved to Arizona. But up until a couple of weeks ago, he was still paying child support to Sarah, who was still collecting monthly payments up until her arraignment on 19 criminal charges. Chris says she hasn't helped pay for the children's care since she lost custody during Braxton's hospitalization. Chris is also not receiving any state assistance. A GoFundMe page has been set up to help Chris with Braxton's recovery and legal expenses. You can find a link to that on our website. Reporting in Eugene, I'm Chelsea Deffenbacher.